Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with more revenge stories. In today's video we will read a story about a fraudulent HOA created by a bunch of crazy neighborhood members who essentially tried to scam an entire neighborhood by forging signatures. Without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, "All I Wanted Was a Day Off." This happened a few years ago in 2018. I used to work as nighttime security for an office building that rented office space for other companies on Paulista Avenue, which is pretty much the Brazilian version of Times Square, so it was pretty busy. We would work in pairs from 7 PM to 7 AM and be off until 7 PM of the next day. So we would work 12 hours and off 36 hours. We wouldn't get days off aside from an annual 20 to 30 day paid vacation. Other than that, whatever day your shift landed on, you had to be there. We were working there through a security firm that had a contract with the building, so we would have a post supervisor that would work from Monday through Friday during the day shift that was responsible for letting us know if there was gonna be any extra work being done in the building for us to workers from other companies and for shift scheduling in case someone was out sick. For example, he had to find someone to cover. Now that is out of the way, onto the actual story. Names were changed. So it was around October and I was excited because my girlfriend and I had bought tickets for the Brazil game show, which is our E3, but there was only one problem. I was scheduled for a shift on the same day, so I had to find someone to trade shifts with before then. So there I was one day waiting for my shift to end when the reception phone rings. I pick up and it is John, my coworker, that takes over my shift, and he says he cannot make it on time because he is in the hospital with his mother. This is around 6:30 AM. Jesus, thanks for the heads up. I say it is no problem and that I can wait. Luckily it was the weekend and the offices are all closed, so I can just chill. Then I call the post supervisor to let him know I will be staying late due to John being late. Company policy states there must be at least 2 of us at the post at all times. My partner goes home as soon as his relief arrives and we just sit around talking for a bit. 12 PM comes around and John is still a no-show, so I try getting in touch with him a few times to no success. I talk to the post supervisor and he agrees to let me do the rest of the shift, since heck, I am already there anyways and it would be at least 2 hours before someone would show up for me to leave, and this was the perfect opportunity for me to get someone to take my shift for me to go to BGS. John agrees to take my shift on the day of the event, and I remind the post supervisor every day for the entire week to make sure he wouldn't forget and that he would pass this on to HR and the general supervisor. We always had to notify them about shift trades. So the day comes and I am at the event with my girlfriend and it is just amazing. We were having a great time and about 6:50 PM my phone rings, I take a look and it is work. I find it odd since everything was already worked out. I pick up and it is John asking where I am and if I am arriving soon. Confused, I remind him he is taking my shift today and he says he cannot because he promised another coworker that he would take the day shift for extra money, so he had been there all day. I get angry and yell at him that he has been there all day and he knew I wouldn't be coming and that if he at least had called earlier I might have made it, but I was in another city and for him to figure it out and that we had a deal. Later that night I get a call from the general supervisor and he asks me if I didn't show up for work. I explain what happened and he had no idea that John was supposed to take over my shift, but apparently the post supervisor forgot to inform him, and I know that this wasn't done to screw me over because me and the post supervisor are still very good friends till this day, but sadly, since nothing was confirmed in the eyes of our bosses. So I was supposedly in the wrong and ended up getting a 1-day suspension. I saw it as a win. I could use an extra day off, but deep down I was very angry at John for screwing me over like that. All he had to do was call me earlier and I would have come in no problem. I later learned that he was stirring up trouble with the other night shift as well because he wanted to work nights because we get a 20% bonus for working at nights here in Brazil, so I knew then that I had to get back at him somehow. A few months later, I am covering a night shift at a different post where John now works, and we are working the shift together. We are stationed across the street from each other. It is a large property for a cement factory. I'm in the main reception and he's in the parking lot, in the entrance booth, and switch every few hours. After the midnight switch, I notice he has turned off the cameras for the inside of the booth and says he's gonna take a nap. I say okay and thought this was the moment I've been waiting for, caught sleeping on the job. I can't believe he had forgotten the stunt he pulled on me and that such a golden opportunity was presenting itself, but not even I could believe what was about to happen. I wait a little and switch the camera on and I hit the jackpot. If only he really was sleeping, turns out he was doing drugs with one of the women from the neighborhood. I instantly started recording this, but wait, there's more. They start having some fun. I really couldn't believe my eyes, like, really? Really? He will be lucky if he finds a job in this field again. I sent it all to the general supervisor and he was pissed. He came that same night to the post and I don't think I've ever heard yelling so loud. Told John to go to HQ as soon as his shift was over and that he was being fired. I was so happy, but wait, there is more. John decided to sue the firm for me having recorded him without his permission, and the firm tracked down the woman that he was with that night. Turns out it was not a woman, it was a teen, an underage teen. John was arrested. I didn't want it to end as it did, but hey, karma is a beach and all I wanted was a day off. And guys, I gotta say, I cannot even put into words how happy I am that this awful coworker got exactly what he deserved and even a little bit more. In addition guys, I am curious, have you ever dealt with any unreliable, awful coworkers like the dude in the story? Please let us know in the comments, and while you're at it, please also don't forget to maybe like the video and post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support me. Thank you so much in advance for your amazing daily support. It really means a lot to me and it helps my channel tremendously. I am grateful to have you here. And the next one is titled, Fraudulent HOA harassed me, I worked together with my neighbors and got them disbanded. We moved houses last year to the ugliest in the street. The previous owners must have loved Mondrian because the front was red, blue, yellow in window frames and door. One paint job, many thankful neighbors, and several months later I get an invitation to a voluntary collective of inhabitants. The terms read like an opt-in HOA that you can never leave. A long list of restrictions and no benefits. No thanks. Random home improvements continue, the backyard gets remodeled, some overgrown trees get cut down, free firewood for the barbecue, etc. And then I get a letter from the city. Apparently, I cut down a tree without a permit and they are sending someone to assess the damage. This is a little shocking as I work with permits for a living and did some proper research before I changed anything. So I give the city a call, but nope, there's no such thing as a permit for tree removal on private property and nobody in City Hall sent this letter printed on City Hall letterhead. In fact, there's not even a proper tracking number. They even sent by an arborist to assess the damage, who I refused. And later I got the bill for the arborist, which I kept but didn't pay. A phone call confirmed that the arborist did not send me the bill, but for privacy reasons that person couldn't tell me the name who did it. When the DIY is finished and I am moved in, I hold an introduction barbecue for my street. I go invite people and bring a cupcake with the "There shall be a grand feast. All are welcome" stuff on a little note to make friends with the neighbors. I had already scored major credit by raising their property value with a single paint job, so I was pretty happy. A few people tell me I cannot have a barbecue because it is against the rules of the collective of inhabitants. I tell them not to worry, I am not in that. The next day I get a bill for membership to the collective of inhabitants. This mysterious organization sends out bills without contact info, so I shred it. Come the day of the barbecue, at 4 PM my doorbell rings. Someone in an official looking City Hall uniform and a city supervisor, basically a not quite cop who took night school instead of police academy, they heard I am having an illegal barbecue and are here to shut it down. I ask if they would like to point out which laws I am breaking, and Uniform Man, UM, pulls out a 60+ page slab of paper and points out a rule saying it is illegal to burn anything for any reason in your backyard. The book is labeled Collective of Inhabitants Laws and Rules. The city supervisor, FC for fake cop, just stands there smirking. Me, that is very nice, but I'm not part of that group, so I don't see how that applies to me. UM, the rules apply to everyone in this street. Me, yeah, no they don't. You cannot just go around inventing laws. Could I have a copy of that book, please? I take the sheaf of paper and toss it onto a table for future reference. FC, so I take it, you won't have the barbecue? Me, oh no, I'm having the barbecue, and I'm going to make it my personal mission to break another rule every time you bother me. So far, I am 2 down and 3 to go. UM, this is against the law, I will be calling the cops. Me, no, this is against your rules, not the law, and that is number 4. FC, ma'am, if you don't comply, you will be placed under arrest. Me, oh yes, shall we call the actual police right now? I wonder who's in the right here. I take out my phone and call the non-emergency number. Of course, I am on hold. UM, that is not necessary, you haven't heard the last of this. They walk away and I hang up. Me, that is 5, have a nice day. The neighbors start showing up and point out that is the president of the collective and jokingly ask which heinous crimes I committed. I tell them I did nothing wrong because I am not in the group. That is when my introductory barbecue turned into a torrent of complaints about the collective. So during my Hello Neighbors barbecue, I got to hear all the horror stories. Leave your trash can at the street after 8 AM? Get a fine. Put it out before 10 PM? Fined. Have a barbecue? Fined. Paint your house late? Fined. The list went on. For 6 hours, people did nothing but complain about the collective, noting that none of the active members were present at this highly illegal party. As it turns out, my house was the only one in the street, not in the collective, and I had 2 other bastions of freedom in the next street. Well, I had just moved in and I owed the collective another 4 infractions, so I was open to suggestions. 3 of my neighbors were extremely fed up and seized on this opportunity, perfectly willing to inconvenience themselves to be a-holes to the collective. It turns out this BS had been going on for about 6 years. So here is a little tally of actions, none quite pro-revenge till the end. Number 1. Trash cans are to be placed by the curb no sooner than 10 PM and removed no later than 8 AM. Suddenly, I gained 17 trash cans which I graciously allowed the other people to use and even keep near their houses for convenience. However, should someone accidentally leave my trash can at the pickup point, nobody can be fined. 3 infractions to go. Due to terrible wording, it is not allowed for collective members to organize a party outside after 9 PM. I was suddenly extremely outgoing. I organized at least 1 party every other week, going so far as to use other people's backyards for them. Being a terrible host, I wasn't present for most of the parties I organized. 2 infractions to go. Number 3. I suddenly became a pet owner. After one of the neighbors was told dogs are not allowed to weigh over 10 kilograms, I became the proud owner, and that is to say the dogs still belong to him in every way, except for the collective of a Great Dane. I really only saw the dog when its caretaker took him on walks, but still 1 infraction to go. It had to be a good one. Number 4. I get a call from a debt collection agency. I failed to pay my collective bill on time. I had to pay some tiny amount plus a big fine. I tell them that if they can provide me with proof of a contract, I will gladly pay. They promised to get back to me. 2 infractions to go. Number 5. Since all major garden work had to be done contracted to a registered gardener, my husband started a one-man gardening business. Since registered wasn't defined anywhere, we opted for a €12 entry in the phone book. And yes, they still exist. Business was lousy though. He only ever took jobs that landed him 0 profit. Even though the subcontracted labor was not profitable, he always managed to find local workers willing to take the job. Generally, they lived in the very house where the work was to take place. Talk about good management. 1 infraction left to go. Number 6. Debt collection agency sent me a letter with a copy of a contract signed by me. Well, signed by someone who used my husband's last name in my first letter, which is rather odd since I never took his last name. I was about to rip it up when I realized that forging a signature is an actual crime. Yay! I called the debt collection agency, explained that that is not my signature, emailed them my real signature, and they drop it after some back and forth and another in-person visit. Now, unfortunately, I'm not a lawyer. Fortunately, one of my new neighbors is, and he was extremely motivated. So, with charges of harassment and fraud and a slew of others, we went to court. It took all of 10 minutes after reading the evidence. Basically, we had a good case because we had a lawyer, and the board of the collective, who was defended by the president, a professional manicurist, went, "Look at the rules she broke. There's this rule and this one and this one." To which the judge simply replied, "But you forged her signature, she's not a member." "But she broke so many rules." Repeat twice more and bang the gavel. The collective was fined a pittance and ordered to pay a ton of damages to me and one other non-member. Of course, since this was not actually an HOA, they didn't have much and were thus forced to disband, with the unfortunately small fine falling to the board members. Thus ended the collective of inhabitants, and there was much rejoicing. My only regret is that I still had another infraction I wanted to commit. And the last one is titled HOA being difficult because I host support group meetings in my own home in Massachusetts. For the last 18 years I've been a member and an organizer of a support group for trauma survivors. The room we were using for our meetings in a nearby church was recently flooded and badly damaged, and I have not been able to find another suitable room for our meetings due to the pandemic. Not wanting the group members to be deprived of an important resource, I decided to host some meetings in my basement or in a secluded area of my garden with a reduced number of attendees. We respect social distancing rules, wear masks, sanitize our hands and everything. This came to the knowledge of the HOA board, and a few weeks ago some HOA board members knocked on my door and told me that they were not pleased with this at all. They told me that people in the neighborhood feel unsafe knowing that drug addicts gather at my house. I told them that our support group is not for people fighting addiction, or maybe some of them are but they don't tell me, but for trauma survivors, and that this would stop as soon as we could go back to the church. They were not convinced and called me inconsiderate and asked me to stop. I did not, because I consider that I have a right to invite people to my house and talk to them. Yesterday I received a strongly worded letter from the HOA demanding that I stop inviting drug addicts to gather at my house because it puts everyone in danger and they are not the kind of people we want in the neighborhood. They said I had a chance to make things right, but didn't, so they are fining me $500. They will fine me for every meeting I organize from now on and threaten me with a lien on my house if I don't pay the fines. The reason they invoke is that our meetings are breaching the peace of the neighborhood and making people unsafe. This is completely untrue. Our meetings are 6 to 7 people maximum, and we don't make noise, we don't drink, people park on my driveway or on legal spots in the street, we cause absolutely no disturbance. I checked the HOA rules and I cannot seem to find which one I would be breaking. Does the HOA have any right to stop me from organizing meetings at my house? I don't see how our support group is any different from having a few guests at my house. The HOA is run by people who don't seem to know what they are doing, and I think that they would stop harassing me if I had real legal arguments to oppose. Thank you for your advice. And a user in the comments said, "This is complicated and a firm answer would probably require a detailed reading of your HOA CC&Rs by a lawyer. But there is a decent chance that they can do this. The fact that the HOA is run by people who don't seem to know what they are doing is largely irrelevant. Many HOA rules are written in such a way to exclude just the sort of activities you are engaging in, namely bringing other people into the neighborhood on a regular basis. I could run through a list of possible reasons they will feed you. It is a business run out of the home, even though you don't get paid. It is an unlicensed social club. You cannot prove that you are really doing social distancing, etc., but at the end of the day they don't want undesirables with no clear link to a resident coming regularly into their space. And they will throw fines at you until you stop. You would need a lawyer to get a firm answer though." Update: I pushed back and my HOA stopped harassing me about hosting support group meetings. I wrote back to the HOA to dispute the fines and send a polite but firm letter asking them to show me precisely which rule I am supposed to be breaking, as I was advised by commenters in here. I also pretended that I feel insulted that they are calling me and the group members drug addicts. I felt bad doing so because I know that addiction is a disease and not a sin or whatever, and that I would raise hell because of this and call a lawyer. As a result, the president of the HOA called me and basically confirmed that they have not found a specific rule I would be breaking, but it was more of a general feeling people had and that I was making them uncomfortable and that should not go on. I asked why they were uncomfortable, so he talked about the fact that they think that I am letting drug addicts gather at my home and that would bring crime to the neighborhood. I explained again that the support group is not about addiction and the members are not drug addicts, and the president said he knew, but some homeowners have trouble accepting it. He confirmed, as I suspected, that there are other things they have trouble accepting about me and it is not about drugs. Then I tried my luck a little by pretending that what they are doing amounts to discrimination against people who need mental health support, and they were infringing on my right to peacefully enjoy my property, and was adamant that I wouldn't pay a cent in fines. He said that I seem passionate about the argument and he does not want to be involved in a legal dispute over this, so we came to an agreement that I would move as many meetings as possible online and only have people at my place when there was no other way, which makes sense within virus times anyway. In return, the HOA will drop their claim and leave me alone. I have not heard about them again, so I guess I am fine. Thanks for everyone's good advice. And I gotta say guys, this is probably the first time I see an HOA drop a dispute/argument so quickly. Either this HOA president is not as big of a douchebag as all the other ones, or the OP is very intimidating. And guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then please check out my binge watch playlist, which you will see on the left side of your screen, which will entertain you literally for days and probably weeks to come. Listening to that playlist is very much appreciated because it also helps my channel tremendously. In addition, if you still cannot get enough, I would suggest to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more exclusive Reddit videos and early access to my daily content. Thank you so much for your awesome support daily. I am very grateful that you are here every single day. Without you, I would not be able to do this. Thank you so much.